is the McBride Rewind, the show that takes you down memory lane with your host, Josh McBride.
Welcome to the McBride Rewind. I'm Josh McBride. Today, sitting down with somebody I am so excited about, who defied a generation, the 90s, the 2000s, fresh off the Met Gala carpet. Christine Taylor, thank you for being here. I'm really, you don't understand. I've been talking about this since I stalked you and like DM'd you, and I was like, she's never going to write back.
I have such a small, we always joke on our podcast that I'm not publicly on Instagram, but I have a private account that is pretty manageable, and it's friends and family. And so it's not like I get a lot of requests, but I don't get flooded with DMs often, truly.
Really?
I get tagged in a lot of stories and things like that, but I just every so often, and also, by the way, I've gotten really into recipes on Instagram, and they'll say, if you want this recipe, comment cake in the comments, and then you get a DM with the full recipe. So every so often I'm like looking up a coconut cake recipe and I check my DMs.
As one does.
And of course, because it's all about baking.
Yeah.
And so I saw your note, and this was just lovely. It's so fun. It's fun to be on the other side.
Yeah. Well, it's about you, right? Like, I don't know how fun that is,
but it's just like I have less preparation because
you should have prepped a little bit more. No, but I'm so excited to have you because my brother and I, who I talk about often on this podcast, we were both raised millennials. I'm 38. He just turned 40.
Yeah.
We were raised on movies and TV shows that you were such a big part of.
Right.
And could do lines from them. We're going to get to some of those, obviously, a little later. But does it feel like that? Like that you defied a generation for a lot of people?
I mean, if I think about just me going through my life, no, I don't feel like but it's fans, and it's the fact that so many of the things that I have been in and been lucky enough to be a part of have lived on in this sort of unbelievable way. I think, as a culture, we're really yearning for nostalgia. And I think with streamers and with access to things, even the younger generation, like my kids, love to go back and find a cool older movie.
Which is what? Like, is that something that you were in?
Early 2000s or that late, God forbid, late 90s or something like that. So, but there's access to it more. So I do feel like the fanfare around a lot of these projects is so much bigger than when we actually did them and they came out, because of social media and because of memes and GIFs and all of that stuff.
You would know about a meme. We'll get to that too.
I know a smidge about a meme. Yes.
And before we get started, I brought you something which you already have, but I'm very excited that I brought you it. Perhaps you've heard. Oh, I just hit the mic. Sorry, Kevin. Perhaps you've heard.
Look at you and my face.
I don't know what I don't. So if you're listening on audio, this is Stiller soda.
Oh my gosh!
New-ish.
And look at you.
I didn't know which variation you liked.
Yes, very new. In fact, really only East Coast based right now. Though you can get it on Amazon, and I believe maybe Target and Walmart nationwide, but in bodegas and different markets around New York and New York City. Stiller's Soda, the Shirley Temple, was what launched it all.
How cool is that?
So much fun.
Did you ever think that you'd be are you a part of Stiller Soda? You're a part of it.
I am a regular taster of the formulas.
Your research? Yep, head of research.
I feel like my input is solid. I feel like, now, that being said, I was not a Shirley Temple connoisseur the way my husband is. He loves a Shirley Temple. And so any restaurants, bar, he really likes to order Shirley Temple and can really this one's a little too sweet, or look at this one with a dark black cherry. And this was a real passion project and something super fun. And the idea was, because sodas, most sodas are so high calorie and high sugar. His goal was to try to, keep it low sugar but tasting good, not trying to pretend it's some kind of probiotic drink or
But there are vitamins in it.
There's stuff in there.
Yeah, there's stuff in there. Head of research.
It's all sort of healthy stuff. Yes, I'm not head of research.
Okay.
But I'm a good taster. Yeah.
I had to bring you those. Take me back. So we talk about comfort a lot on this podcast. I wanted to create this because it was a space for that nostalgia, but we're all living through that nostalgia. I went to the movies the other day, and there was, I think, 8 out of the 10 previews, which is way too many.
It's way too many.
Was all sequels, right? It was Scary Movie. It was so many sequels.
Right.
But I think that there's something to be said about a sequel because we all loved that first generation, which was 20, 30 years ago, and they're coming out. I mean, even Meet the Parents, which
I was going to say,
I was just thinking about that.
Yes, which is like, the fourth in that line of movies. But yes, and I think it's because of what I was saying is that people are really rediscovering those original films, and there's a market for it in the sense that it's my generation as parents. It's also something you can bring your young adult children to or your teenage kids to, and it becomes sort of a family affair. And to me, like if there's any movies out there, whether they're sequels or reboots that are going to get people into theaters again, like bring it on, where it's not just a Marvel movie, where it's not just a superhero movie, right?
You're going to get a lot of haters coming at you for that, but I agree.
I know, and I'm not, it's because I get it for people who love those kind of movies. But for me, it's just I'm not the demographic for those movies. So I would love to have other options
with you
in the theaters.
Take me back to how it all started for you, because I don't know if people really know your story. They sort of know that they grew up with you.
Yeah.
And they know you, of course, in the Brady Bunch. And I had to remind somebody, my cousin, last night, that you were in The Wedding Singer. And I was like, and I need to hear all about that, because that's probably one of my favorite top 5 movies.
Oh, it's
so take me where it really started.
Well, I grew up in suburban Pennsylvania, like about an hour and a half from here in New York City, Allentown, a suburb of Allentown, Pennsylvania. And like you, my brother and I loved movies and TV shows. Like we had destination TV that we loved to watch, but we loved movie. We grew up in the 80s, so it was like, late 70s, 80 movies from like Meatballs and all the comedies like Stripes and Caddyshack and a lot of comedy classics that were on in our household. I feel like everything I'm naming is probably very R-rated for like young teenage kids at the time. And you would go and rent movies at the video store, and it was an exciting adventure, and we'd see movies. So I grew up a movie lover, but then I also really very quickly fell in love with musical theater. I saw a production locally in Pennsylvania of Godspell, and I was like, my mom took me, I was 8 years old, and I just was in awe. I just was sort of like, I got to do that at some point. I got to be on a stage. I have to be able to like sing and dance. And so it was fairly soon after that my parents put me in sort of a Saturday morning, the kids theater school. That was just super fun. And I just started kind of performing from there in local, like my school productions and local community theater productions. And in my sophomore year, maybe the end of my sophomore year of high school, a talent manager saw me in one of the plays I was in. She was like, would you ever consider auditioning for commercials or going to New York City? And did you ever think about that? And for me, I had never thought about it in the terms, like beyond just theater and performing on stage. I didn't even know that was accessible to somebody from Pennsylvania. So she really took me under her wing, and I took one of the on-camera commercial acting courses, which was just super fun and silly, and had a blast. And then she said, well, they're casting a national Burger King campaign. They're casting for a Burger King counter girl to sell, 2 burgers for $1. And
you remember the deal?
I remember the deal because I remember the monologue I had to audition with, and I ended up getting that commercial. So it was really my first taste of professional, anything in the, show business was doing this commercial, but it was also really my first audition also. So it was really total beginner's luck, and also not knowing anything about anything and just going in like, oh, this is fun, and just selling Burger King.
Imagine if every actor had the same story. They were like, the first time I went in.
It went downhill.
No, it did not. Did you know and I hate this question, but I feel like I have to ask it because I think when people think about you, they're like, she's hilarious. She's fucking hilarious. Like, did you think you were funny as a child?
I mean, I grew up in a household where, because we loved comedy films and a lot of, comedies on television. Like I remember Three's Company, my brother and I were obsessed with, John Ritter's physical comedy. Like, I don't know that I felt I was funny, but I knew funny. And my dad was very dry and sarcastic and just had a real quick wit. And so I think we just grew up around it. But I was also a huge, huge Brady Bunch fan. And that was my go-to. I would come home from after school, go right to the TV, get my snack, and I'd watch Brady Bunch episodes every day of the week and became obsessive about that show. So I started to, I think, craft my Maureen McCormick, Marsha Brady impression at a very young age without even knowing that there was a future to be had in it.
Wild?
I just loved her. I loved the show. I loved the episodes. I loved the dialogue. So it was taking shape in that way for me before I even really knew it. It was just what I loved.
You've manifested your career is what basically you're saying.
Is that some strange way? Yeah, right
that's
timing.
so cool. I mean, similarly, I went home and watched TRL, so perhaps a little different timing, no offense.
Right, no, a little different timing.
Slightly. Okay, so that was really the breakout role, right?
Yeah, that was really, I had done a kids' TV show on Nickelodeon in the late 80s into early 90s, which was, before Nickelodeon exploded into what Nickelodeon has become, but it was the beginning of Nickelodeon. And so I got a little sort of acting on a TV series under my belt and then moved to LA after that and just started auditioning and doing little guest spots like on Saved by the Bell and Blossom. And
Friends.
Well, that came later. The Brady Bunch was really sort of the breakout role. And it was truly great timing because I happened to do a stage production in Westwood called The Real Live Brady Bunch. And it was this group out of Chicago, really funny group of people. Andy Richter was part of it. Jane Lynch, they both played Mike and Carol. And they needed to fill the Marsha role for a month. And my roommate at the time said, they're casting a Marsha Brady thing on stage. You got to audition for it. So I called my agent and I went in and auditioned and got that. And it was right around the same time that they were going to be doing a movie version at Paramount. And so I was really the right age. I was obviously maybe 21 or 22 when I auditioned for it. So I was a teensy bit older than the teenage, than 17, 18, but we were all kind of playing a little younger. And nobody expected that movie to be as big as it was. It was a real, for a studio movie, it was not a big budget. They cast a lot of unknowns. Shelley Long was the big name. Even Gary Cole at that point had really only done drama. He was not known for comedy. Jennifer Elise Cox and I, who brilliantly played Jan, were the only two who were fans of the original. We were obsessive about it. So everything we did in that movie came through the lens of Jennifer and I saying, well, she would never say it that way, or we got to change that line, or we got to fix that because that's not right.
That's not what she would say.
Yeah, or how she would say it. Yes, exactly. Because I was corrected. I've said this in other interviews, but in a Very Brady sequel, the line where I say I've never heard of a George Glass at our school, the director stopped me and said, "Can you just say school?
No,
we don't know what you're saying.
No,
Can you just say school?" And I said, no, I can't, because Maureen McCormick said skewel. She said skewel. It was a very specific way of saying it. So I fought for those moments where I knew it was the way Maureen did it, and she did it so perfectly, and I needed to nail it. And I needed to nail it with love and with affection. And so
you kind of, low key, you kind of got the credit for it. You did. When people talk about, I could recite that whole scene, right?
Yes, exactly,
George Tropicana.
Yes, exactly.
Did you know first of all, did you know that the movie was going to be as big as it was, number one? And then also, you literally are probably the most used meme.
Well, that has become crazy.
Which is
the meme.
Do your friends use it to you also?
Yes. I will tell you this honestly. I used it with my husband last night, and I rarely ever use it, but it was so perfect because he sent me something and he tried to dictate something through Siri and only half came through, and he goes, "Oh, sorry, I dictated that," and I went,
Sure, Jan, with your own face.
He did hysterical laughter emojis. But I rarely ever use it. I forget about it, and then it pops up, and people will send me them and how they're used, because I'm not on Twitter. It's used a lot on Twitter when it comes to political stuff and sports things. And so we had no idea the movie would be a success. In fact, it was that feeling when you're in it and everybody's finding these characters, like, not only is it going to be a success, but is this even going to be good? We're sort of like doing this. Brady's set in the 90s. Is this too out there? Is it too weird? Are we pushing the envelope too much? Do people just want a simpler thing? So, but the whole time, the eye on the prize for me was just do it. It was all about just doing it, doing something that I felt like Maureen would be okay with and proud of and happy with. So we had no idea. And then it just had this sort of, I think it appealed to the kids who had grown up watching it and got the sort of, it was a lot of innuendo and a lot of sort of double entendres throughout.
There was a conversation on social the other day. I'm not joking. Yeah. And the conversation was a very Brady, the movies in general, were they a goof on the Brady bunch? Oh, and the answer is?
I mean, that's a tricky question, because I think it's to me, it's tricky because I feel like
it kind of was.
I mean, of course that's the perception of it, but for those of us who loved it so with all of our hearts, I had to feel like this was a way of honoring something that was so iconic and but doing it with some laughs along the way.
Right. There's where I think people got a little they thought that the movie was a goof on the show itself.
Right.
Which I don't think is a bad thing.
No, I feel like not at all. I think there's, you had to look at some of what was going on that show. Like, Alice is in her maid's uniform, and where is she sleeping? Because we're never seeing where Alice sleeps. So of course they have to touch on that in the movie. And, and Alice sneaking out at night. I liked that sort of wink and a nod to the things we didn't see in the Brady series. But it was thrilling when it did so well. And it really did change the trajectory of my career at that point. I mean, I still had to audition for certain things, but I also got offered a lot of great guest starring roles on television shows, auditioning for Adam and his crew for The Wedding Singer. And I think it's because of those movies and because Adam loved those movies. So I'm so grateful. I
love that movie. It was funny because there's been so much, and I want to get back to The Wedding Singer in a second, but there was so much stuff about the Brady Bunch recently that's come out, whether it was talking about how if it was a parody of the actual show itself, like we said, and then Eve Plum coming out saying that she doesn't get any residuals. And this has been, and I take a little bit of credit for it, of this conversation that started because it went viral from this podcast when Jodie Sweeting came on saying that she doesn't get residuals from Full House. Right. Did you read this?
I mean, of course, we'd heard about it because I was so involved in Brady lore for ever. I read Growing Up Brady, and I was in, any of the stuff that came out about the Bradys over the years, even before I did the movie, I was all over. I was so into. So it was sort of known that for such a successful show, they did not get what a network television show, the equivalent of what many others on network TV shows at that time got, which is crazy to me.
That's wild.
It's wild, yes.
Let's go back to Wedding Singer. What do you remember most? Because I could recite the whole movie, but what do you remember most? Which, isn't it somebody you were there? I could recite it, but you were there.
But my memory of that movie, was that I was so excited to get cast because I normally played the wholesome kind of girl next door character in most of the movies that I had been in.
Yeah.
And, now I take exception because The Craft I also got cast in after the Brady Bunch movie came out because Andy Fleming, the director, loved that movie, and he and his sister were obsessed with sort of how bitchy Marsha was. And he sort of saw that Laura Lizzie character in The Craft as something that what a fun spin and to give her something. So that was really cool. But
just connected a weird thing too.
Yeah.
You lost your hair in the craft, and then remember when you shaved your hair in
yes,
Friends?
for
There's a weird
Bonnie,
hair
I know,
thing happening.
there is a hair thing.
There's
for
a hair
sure.
thing happening. Those
the
that
irony
will remember
too
will
of
remember
the,
that.
Yes, exactly. Of the, because Marsha was all about hair,
Yes.
and then I would lose hair, and yeah, exactly. There's a lot of a hair thing.
There's a hair
throughout
through
my
line with your
career.
life. Yeah.
Yeah, but even The Wedding Singer, getting cast in that to play the sort of easier going girl who's been around the block a few times, cousin to Drew, and getting to work with Adam and Drew was just like, I was so excited that they gave me a chance to play a part like that. And also what was fun was having just done the Brady Bunch sequel, I believe, because I did The Wedding Singer after that. But the fact that I got to revisit another decade and go to the 80s, which was really my era. I grew up in the 80s, and I did not dress the way Holly, my character, dressed. I was much more of the conservative, preppier type.
She loved bright colors and the
Yes.
hairdo and the
Holly
curly
was like
hair.
a Madonna
she
wannabe.
Was, yes,
she
with the
just,
tight pink pants.
Yes, every, neons, and then the mesh and the black and
Yep.
the curls, and that was a big hair,
Kinda slutty,
hair
like
job.
little slutty.
Totally. But with a
Totally,
heart.
yes.
That's because that's what all of Adam's movies are.
Yeah.
I mean, all of the characters have, there's usually something redeeming about all of them, even in their villainous turns in Adam's movies. So, and my fondest memory of that was really like Adam welcoming everyone in. I mean, he would have jam sessions in his trailer at lunchtime because he loves music, and so he had instruments in his trailer, and people would come in and just hang and listen to music, and it was just a fun time. Like, I was in my, maybe it was 25 or 24, 25 years old, so it was sort of like this amazing moment in the 90s, but also like in my career of like, wow, I can't believe I get to do this.
It's really cool to sit here because I'm such a fan, but also to be asking the questions because like they're questions that I would want to know as a fan, but
Yeah.
also like so many people I'm sure that listen to us or watch us.
Yeah.
They all feel, I keep getting the same feedback being like, I loved that movie. I loved that part of what this person did. And so like, I appreciate you being here. I just had to say that in the middle of
Yeah.
this. Let's jump to Friends because as many fans in that era also,
Yeah.
you played Bonnie.
Yes.
In 3 episodes,
It's
she
3.
comes back.
Yes, exactly. Because it's the cliffhanger episode of that season, which I was just talking about this, that, another show that obviously I watched regularly. I was very close friends with Matthew Perry at that time in my life too, and was with him when he got cast in that show. In fact, he got cast in Friends the same day that I was cast in the Brady Bunch, and we were flying to a friend's birthday in Vegas, and we both had this moment of like, we just got these big jobs. This is so cool. So I had been to tapings, and was a fan of the show, and then I got offered this part that I hadn't even read the scripts when my agent said, they're offering you a little arc on Friends. It's going to be like 2 episodes for the last 2 of the season, and then maybe another one at the beginning of the next season. They're not telling us all details yet.
When she gets her hair back. Yeah.
I just said, I don't even need to read it. It's a yes. And then they sent me the script, and I was like, oh, okay. So now I see. There's some strings attached here. Not only I'm going to have to do a bald cap because I'm not going to shave my head for
Hell
this
no.
for a
Love
week's
the
worth
show.
of work.
That much maybe.
So that's going to be a thing. And then also I have to be in a bra because there's like a strip
That's right.
Monopoly game or strip poker or something, and then there's like a bikini like I was just sort of like, okay, now I get why I have to think about this, but I was joking. I was of course going to take it. It was just one of those, it can't just be an easy thing, because I had to be in prosthetic makeup for the bald cap, which was took a couple hours, because at the time I had a lot more hair than I have now, and it was packing it all in, and that's why I think I hold the towel around my.
Oh, that's right.
Because
you do.
there's a seam that was showing in
You
one
would
of the
just
cameras.
come from the ocean. You would come from the ocean.
That was our cell, but it was really to like make sure that the sort of bald cap seam wasn't seen in the camera that was behind me.
And then Ross actually touches. I know too much about your career. He like touches your head and he's like, I can feel the bones or something, right? He says something like that. So
Right,
like you
'cause
had
he's
to keep it
taller.
stable.
I know. Yes, it was. They did an amazing job. And honestly, I look back on it now, and again, doing a show like that, which was the biggest series at the time, and it was a phenomenon. Obviously, people love Friends. So I knew it was going to be seen then. But flash forward to 30 plus years later, like I had no idea that people would still be coming up to me in the streets and saying, I loved you as Bonnie on Friends, because it is a show that is running all over the world, all times of day. Like that is a show that is sort of globally recognized. And so I'm always surprised when that is the thing people will come up to me and recognize. Usually I'm ready for Marsha.
Yep.
Even Hey Dude, the kids show I did, I'm kind of gotten used to that a little bit, but Friends is because I just think it was so memorable, because it was at the peak of the Ross, Rachel, are they going to get back together? And that was the cliffhanger. Is he going to open the door he's got 2 doors to open. Is it going to be the Rachel's door that he's going to go, or is it Bonnie? And when he goes into the room,
we never knew which door it was.
We don't know exactly, but we're
people
both
don't
in there.
understand. If people,
Yes.
I really need people to understand, because that was like a huge. It was
we don't
Thursday
know
nights.
who he chose.
Yes,
right. So, but
okay. So now I'm going to clear things up, because Lisa Kudrow came out and said she still gets residuals because it gets played on cable. Will you get random checks from Friends for Bonnie?
Yes,
Wonderful.
But talking about, back to Jody, I mean,
They're not-
longer it's been on,
They're not-
especially for not the leads, it's a different story, but the guest stars, it's a different deal. And so, the longer something kind of filters out, it's just the residuals get less and less. But yeah, I'll still see an occasional.
It's kind of fun though, for a reminder of like, you did that.
Yes, like many of the projects like that I did in the 90s and early 2000s. So it's really cool.
Seems like you seamlessly integrated into them already, because they were already a collective group before you were a guest star on.
Right. They were. But because I knew them a little bit, I wasn't friends with all of them, but because of being close with Matthew and spending some time, so I sort of knew them, and they were so great. I mean, at the time, like Matt LeBlanc was off shooting Lost in Space, so he was only there on the tape days. He was flying back and forth to London to shoot Lost in Space. So they were already hugely successful, and most of them all doing movies and other projects, whenever they could. But it was a well-oiled machine that felt super cool to be a part of, and for them to have sort of welcomed me in, and it was great. It was awesome.
Had you met your husband at that point?
No.
I didn't think so in that whole timeline.
And he did an episode like 2 in this season, like a couple episodes after mine.
As he went crazy.
Who screams at the
chicken,
duck,
the duck,
or the duck, or
both of them. Yeah,
right, exactly.
So you guys hadn't met?
No. We met 1998, 99. Yeah, somewhere.
And that was from working together.
That was working together. Yeah, that was on a pilot that never got picked up, called Heat, Vision, and Jack, with Jack Black and Owen Wilson. You can find it on YouTube. It's a really weird, wacky pilot that Ben directed, which was super funny, sort of like $6 Million Man, Knight Rider meets Star Trek, like a very science fiction-y but comedically honed through the lens, like a real sort of like parody almost of those kinds of shows. And I just was playing the sheriff who has to arrest Jack Black. But it was, again, like working with comedy heavyweights. That was my first time working with Ben, not as an actor, but as a director. And I had been a fan of his. So
I swear to God, you've manifested your entire life. It was like you were a fan of Friends. You were a fan of the Brady Bunch.
Yes,
you went to tapings of Friends.
I know.
You were a fan of your husband.
I know. But looking back on it, it sounds like it was so all happened in this sweet order, very simple. But it didn't feel like that at the time. It was sort of like, oh, there's an opportunity to audition for something for Ben Stiller. Oh, that's amazing. I'm going to, that's cool. I'm going to try that. And one thing to audition, which is a challenge in and of itself, but then to audition with Jack Black, who, by the way, wasn't Jack Black at the time, but I knew of his comedy. I knew of Tenacious D. I knew of things he had been in and been in, supporting actor in. and to then be in a room with Ben Stiller directing me, and it was so very surreal and challenging because it's harder to audition for and with people that you know are you also want to do better for them too. So you want to I really want to do well in this one, but yeah, you can say manifest it. I can call it luck.
I like mine. Mine's good because you worked hard for it. So, what has been your favorite part? You guys have worked on a lot of projects now together. I mean,
oh my gosh.
Zoolander and Dodgeball, and
yeah.
we didn't even get into length at those. But has there been a favorite project you guys have worked on together? I mean, Dodgeball for me was also.
Dodgeball is one of those movies that even in our household, when my son is flipping through he's in college now, but it's on all the time. And it's always one of those movies, and I can't say that for all of the movies I've been in, but something about that movie, whenever it's on, I will stop, and because even if I wasn't in it, I would have loved that movie.
It's a great movie.
Because I grew up on those kinds of movies of, the Revenge of the Nerds, the underdogs, the lovable losers that you sort of root for. So yeah, Dodgeball is really one that we laughed a lot because it was very hard to do scenes with him as White Goodman and to take him seriously with his wig and his fake tan and his wardrobe and the voice. He had like a weird bulging thing at one point. Yeah, there was some sort of air pump that he could. Yeah, it was all so bizarre, but yeah, we had a blast on that. And Zoolander, because we had just gotten married, Ben really looked to sort of cast that, and they had offers out to much bigger names when he was putting that movie together. Sarah Jessica Parker got offered it, and Kate Hudson got offered it, and they turned it down because I don't think there's a lot of money involved, but also the movie really was about Derek and Hansel and Mugatu. So it was the Matilda role on paper didn't probably feel as appealing to actors of that caliber at the time. So I joke that I was like fifth choice and cheap is how I ended up in Zoolander. But I'll take it because it was the time of my life. Ben and I had just gotten married.
So you're I get to go to work with my husband.
Yeah. And I get to work with, the first time getting to work with Will Ferrell and be in his orbit again as a massive SNL fan who every sketch he did was comedy gold to me. Still is. He hosted last week and everything he does to me is funny. So getting to just bear witness to watching Ben and Owen be brilliant and then Will Ferrell and just such a great supporting cast and cameos. David Duchovny, we had this incredible scene with him and just so much fun to get to do. And I see my character and I as sort of I was the sort of voice of reason to kind of ground these crazy characters, but also the voice and face which the audience was seeing their craziness too. Somebody had to acknowledge how insane these
You kind of were that in Dodgeball also, to be honest.
A little bit. Yes, exactly. And people will say that's the straight man, but I see it differently because I see it as its own opportunity for comedy in that it's all in the reaction. It's all in the look or the breath or the moment that you take to really take in the craziness around you and let the audience feel that with you.
I think often audiences will look at you and go, "Oh, thank God that character is there because
it's safe."
We're safe with her.
Right.
Minus the time we walked in to your apartment in Dodgeball when my brother goes to me. I go, "What do you think I should ask Christine Taylor?" So she's coming on. Mind you, all the questions have been done. My brother is a kook, and he goes, "Ask her if she still loves unicorns." I said, "That was a character. It doesn't count."
I like unicorns.
That's it.
I know, and that was such a weird moment too because it's nothing is ever said more about it than that moment.
Yeah.
Of just everything in her house is unicorns.
To Vince Vaughn.
To Vince, yeah. And even the glasses we toast with you have unicorns on the stem.
Do you have a favorite role? Because you've played so many different ones.
I mean, the love of my life role is Marsha Brady for sure. And I met Maureen very briefly at a Very Brady sequel premiere where we took a quick photo, but it was a brief meeting in the 90s. And then over the years, just never crossed paths with her, but I would like Ben would say to me, oh, Maureen McCormick, somebody wrote something about Brady, and Maureen wrote this nice thing about you playing Marsha in the movies. And I was like, oh my God, that's so amazing. Like, I got to connect with Maureen at some point. And lo and behold, over Christmas, we both did this reading on Zoom of It's a Wonderful Life that Ben and I did for charity. And Maureen was doing a role in it. And the director connected us because we were going to do a funny bit on the Zoom after, like, looking in the Zoom boxes at each other. And he said, can I give you Maureen's number? And can I give Maureen your number? And I was, I tried to be not that nerdy about it. And she called me and we chatted for like an hour about, I mean, how complimentary she was to me about playing Marsha, but also just her following my career and me. Like, we just had this mutual love fest. And then when I was in California a couple of months ago, I texted her, we had lunch, we had a 2.5-hour lunch where we just talked about life and everything and kids and families. And so now she's my buddy. Like, she texts me recipes.
The common theme in this podcast today
is recipes. Yeah. Yes.
That's okay. So for a dream role, do you have one, or do you feel like you've already accomplished the dream roles?
Well, I mean, I'm so lucky that I've gotten to play so many dream roles that I didn't even know were dreams until after I got to play them. But the next thing I really want to do in this sort of new chapter for me, because now my kids are grown up. I did a lot of those movies, and then I took a lot of time off to focus on raising my family and being, making sure their lives were stable and steady, and they got to do all the things they loved. And so now they're grown up and they're like launching. And so what I really want to do is get on stage and do a play here in New York. I don't know what that play is. I don't know. I haven't manifested that one yet, but off-Broadway, I'll take a little off-Broadway house to do a fun play. And
you're still doing movies, TV, open to all of
I've
that
done a
still?
few.
Now that the kids are grown.
Yes, definitely. I did a bunch of like 3 or 4 indie movies over the last couple of years that, one is out now. It's called Influenced. It's in select theaters in select cities. One of those. But it's a fun sort of satire of New York City, Upper East Side moms and women, and co-written by Jill Kargman and starring Jill Kargman. She's amazing. But a couple fun indies, and over the years have just been. I think you sort of stay in this business long enough, you make friends, and people ask you to come and do some fun work with them. And like I did the Search Party for multiple years here while my kids were in school, but it was so great because it was a New York-based job, and they would call and just say, are you around next week? We've got an episode that we'd love for you to come and do. So I've really been lucky that way, that even when I wasn't, focusing all of my attention on work and career, I was still able to work and keep my toes wet.
And being able to come back to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something else you came back to that I really loved, and this is public, so I don't feel like I'm saying anything out of turn. You can tell me to fuck off if you want. But you and Ben had this sort of separation and then came back.
Yeah.
And I love this because I feel like it's such a more common story.
Yes.
Of like, let me figure my ish out.
Yes.
And come back, and that's okay.
I know.
The backstory to give people is separated before COVID or during COVID?
Yeah, before COVID.
Before
yes.
COVID, and then got together during.
We got back together. We found our way back during COVID. And yes, we have talked about this.
I'm sure countless times, so I apologize.
No, not at all. Because I do feel like it is a relatable story. Like
doesn't mean you love somebody less. Doesn't mean,
I met Ben when I was 28 years old, and I really feel like, kids always have growth spurts, and you have different chapters and stages in your life. And I feel that's also true for adults. And I think even particularly women who become, you get married, then you become a mom, or for those who become mothers, and what that looks like, and then career, or putting career on hold, like all these different chapters for me. And I think at that moment in time for us, we were just not on the same page with a lot of things, and working so hard to try to make it fit and make it right. And I think really when we kind of just zoomed out on it, it was like, let's just put a pause here. Let's just
take a beat.
I can talk about it now because but in the moment, I mean, it was very difficult to come to that decision. It was not light. It was not without, a heavy heart and feeling really even dejected at the time of like, this is not how I imagined it was going to be, and we should have been able to work it out. I mean, it was challenging, but having that space, and by the way, through it all, we were always in contact. We were co-parenting together. We were spending time together as a family. And then the sort of, if there was a silver lining for us during COVID, that was the sort of little gift, was that we all kind of bubbled up together with the kids. Our daughter was graduating high school at the time. Our son was graduating in 8th grade, and we all were in the house together, and we had nothing but time. So Ben and I spent a lot of time just working on us with a therapist, and we'd log into Zoom and we'd do our therapy sessions, and really found the way back in a I don't know, I feel really, I think you're right. I think it's something that people don't love to talk about because it feels like a failure, or it feels like if the marriage, and by the way, if the right answer for us was that it didn't work, but we were able to figure that out very clearly and focused, then that's great too, because I just think life moves at such a rapid pace that we don't often take the time to just pause and say, okay, he looked at his stuff, I looked at my stuff. We both, long-term marriages are a lot of work. And so, we came out of it and have been really stronger and better than ever. And I feel really comfortable talking about it because I think it's really important for people to feel like that's okay.
Is that the message, to sort of slow down and zoom out?
I think so. I mean, I thought that was a little bit of a message during COVID that we all got, was, wow, this is, I mean, now more than ever, and I see it through my kids' lives, how much input is coming at them in ways, and you grew up with it a little bit, but we didn't, my generation. And so I see it even impacting me, and I came up in a generation where I didn't have a lot of that, and I can still see how I'm tuning out, unplugging, going to the phone, but scrolling through, even if it's just, or playing a crossword, whatever, just it's that disconnect that it's like, instead of that total disconnect, I do think it's really important to sort of focus on what's important, focus on the people that bring you joy and that make you happy and that make you feel good, friends, family, whoever that is, or the joys that you find in the entertainment that you watch. If you love to go to the theater, go to the theater. If you love a movie night, do a movie night. So that's sort of my corny, as a little older, a little wiser.
I think it's important for people to hear.
That's my advice.
No,
yeah.
I think it's important for people to hear.
Yeah.
And also being able to come back. What a blessing to be able to do that. And then also intertwine lives again, right?
Yes.
And you obviously were always going to coexist as parents.
Absolutely.
But to be able to probably go on set or hang out offset, right? Like, because
yes.
he's doing stuff, you're doing stuff.
Yes.
I'm sure you guys visit each other when you're working.
Definitely. I was in Montreal shooting last summer, and Ben drove up, like 5-hour drive, like, because he loves a road trip, and he drove up and visited me. And yeah, we make the time now. We absolutely make the time. And I think when our kids were younger and in the grind and sort of riding the waves of work and life and activities and travel, you can just end up kind of riding that wave without stopping and saying, wait, okay, let's make time for us. And so we really do make that time now. And I feel really lucky that we found our way back for us. But again, like, everybody's got a different path, and I think all of it's okay.
Yeah, I feel like my parents did the same thing, and I feel like they came back together. They were always together, but then they came really and got even closer when my brother and I were out of the house for good.
Well,
Do you know what I'm
that's
saying?
a whole different story too.
You know,
right?
that's a different relationship
Yes.
podcast.
Yes.
Before this podcast ends, this episode, tell me about your podcast.
Oh my gosh. Hey Dude, the 90s called. We're sort of 90s focused. My co-host and I did this series for Nickelodeon when we were teenagers called Hey Dude. You're too young for it because you would have not, I don't even think what year were you
87.
born? 87, yeah. It aired in 89 to 91. And then it had some reruns, but you would have been too young. And he and I came together and we talk a lot about our experiences together, but we dated as teenagers on the show, and then we broke up while we were still working on the show. So we talk a lot about our own like teenage drama and have so many of our dear friends who we had collaborated with over the years on, as well as just new people that we had never met or like people we knew of that come on, and it is so much more fun than I ever thought it would be. Like the joy I get from spending, a day or two a week with him, us just getting to meet really new, cool people or reconnect with people that we had known years and years ago. And we keep it 90s focused, but then we talk about everything else too. Everything else people are working on currently, what's going on in life today. It's a great, I just feel like it's a neat time to be able to sort of do something like this more long form than, a TV guest, like, doing a talk show on TV where you get 5 minutes.
It's 5 minutes. This is a way to get to know people, right? And really like connect with them.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I wanted to do something like this. So
it's very intimate.
It's very intimate.
Yeah.
Kevin's here, but it's very intimate.
Yes, other than Kevin.
Kevin can be part of the intimacy. All right. We don't have a ton of time, so I want to play 2 games with you.
Okay.
The first one is called Fill in the Blank. I give you a sentence, you fill in the blank, but it doesn't need to be one word.
Okay.
And so it's feelings, there's only a few of them. So the first one is being Marsha Brady was...
The greatest honor of my professional career, launched my career, and also brought me so much joy with the people I got to work with and impacted for people who loved the movie.
I love that. Being directed by my husband, Ben, is like... Careful.
Is like a true artist making this is like, I'm trying to fill it in perfectly, but like truly Ben has such an incredible eye that being directed by him here's what I'll say, is the safest that I've felt working professionally, because I know what he's getting, and when he gets it, it's gonna be great. Whether that's aesthetically or through the performance, like he has such a great eye, and I think he gets attention as a director, but a very underrated director, because I think he's an incredible director. I'm
very excited to see Meet the Parents. It's
so fun.
Did he direct that?
No, he didn't direct it, but
I'm sure he probably gave his tips.
They're all been together for
totally.
John Hamburg, who wrote the original, directed it, but they're all collaborative on that. There was so much collaboration.
So excited because that
great.
Came out
yes.
how many years ago. My favorite part of being on the set of Friends was
feeling like I was part of something really cool. Also, what we didn't get to earlier was getting to meet Terry Garr, who played Phoebe's mom in that episode too, who Tootsie was one of my favorite movies growing up, and Terry Garr and Tootsie, I just felt really like I was one of the cool kids.
That's awesome. Adam Sandler is
the warmest, kindest, most generous actor, producer, dude in the business.
Last one. I couldn't hold a straight face in blank movie. You can do multiple.
Well, Dodgeball, when Ben says we should mate, and I say, what? We should date, socially, go out and kick it. And then I throw up in my mouth, and he just does crazy things with his face. And also, yeah, there's dodgeball.
Okay, that was that game. I have one more game, but it's really funny because this one is, and I think you're gonna nail this, which I feel like it's too easy,
Oh, no.
and I should have went harder. But I say the line, you say the movie, and one of them was, "I'm fine. I just threw up in my mouth a little bit."
Dodgeball, and
Yeah.
that's like I forget about that line too because I think Brady lines override that one, but that's such a classic.
So the other one that you
yeah.
also said in this, and I want to show you the card. Well, let me read that one at the end because I wrote it in a certain way. Okay. Ever since 7th grade, I was the fat kid in class.
Zoolander.
Very good. What about, I'm not a lesbian, I'm bisexual.
Dodgeball.
Very good.
Dodgeball.
What about, I'm going to make this real easy on you. If you come upstairs, you're going to
get laid. The Wedding Singer.
Very good. You look a lot different from the last time I saw you. Oh, yeah, I just started wearing bras again.
Oh, God. That's Bonnie from Friends.
It is. It's funny because I'm fine. I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. What about, I'm repeating a lot. You don't get to touch me ever.
Dodgeball.
Yeah, and then the
That was
last
a great
one
scene,
was
too.
I want you to read this because look at the second one on this list.
Okay.
But you already said it. So I
Oh
don't
my
know
God. Well, yeah, it's funny because people.
how do you spell it? Well, say what it's.
Yes. Okay. That's funny. I've never heard of a George glass at our school.
It's just so good.
I love it. And that's the way phonetically I would have
In my
spelled
mind.
it. And then I see when people write it in a comment or something, people do SKUULE with like
Oh yeah.
the dots over the U's, like
Intense.
Like it's so funny to see how people spell out school. Skewel. SKEWEL could work too. I mean, there's a lot of different spellings that you could go with.
It's so good. Christine Taylor, thank you this has
This
been
went by
the
so
pleasure
fast.
of my life to
This
have you
is
here.
so
I'm
much
so
fun.
happy that you're here.
The
Thank you for
best.
being here.
Oh my God, you're the best.
Thanks for listening or watching the McBride Rewind. If you like what you heard, subscribe and share this with a friend. If you love what you heard, leave us a review and post us on social media. Tag us at the McBride Rewind on all platforms so we can see it and repost.